Okay, all I have to say is Wall Street banker, former Wall Street banker turned psychic and channeler. That's all I have to say. You guys are in for a treat. All things abundance, spirituality, like strap on your seatbelt. I think this one is going to be fun. We have Erin Lyons with us. Erin, how are you?
I'm so good and I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy that you're here. And you're 6 months pregnant.
Yes, currently. Yes, I am expecting a boy.
So take me back. You know, I want to know, what was life like when you were a Wall Street banker? Like, where did you find your gift? When did that all come online for you? Like, take us to those moments.
Sure. So it's really dynamic. When I was around 19 years old, so in college, I had a massive spiritual awakening. And coming out of that, I thought, am I supposed to move to India, shave my head, build an ashram? You have these enlightening moments, and the guidance that I was actually getting from spirit was, no, you need to create in the real world. You need to build something, follow those passions and this vision that you've had of working on Wall Street. I can't tell you why I was just obsessed with working on Wall Street, probably because as a woman of color, I didn't see anyone manifesting on that level. And I'm like very driven like that. So I was just obsessed. And that's what I did. But all the while I had these spiritual gifts. So, being able to hear what I call source energy, angelic beings. Fast forward in the future, it became more galactic cosmic presence that I would hear. But in the beginning of my gifts, just more of a source consciousness, spirit presence around me.
I get you. Yes. Okay, so take me back. What did that spiritual awakening look like at 19?
So I've always been a seeker. Growing up, my dad was Muslim, but my mom was Christian Baptist. So just from a young age, I can remember being 5 years old and my dad is like, "Are you going to be Christian or Muslim?" And I'm like, "I just want to be a good person." So I could just feel this part of my soul that just yearned to know the truth. And that just led to so many questions. And of course, no one can answer them. No adults can answer your questions. But fast forward, I go to college and it really starts amping up. And so at this point, I'm piecing together my own, I'm studying different religions. I'm piecing it all together. And I reach my own conclusion. Okay, I think everyone and everything is God. And I think all of these religions and all of these philosophies are just interpreting that in their own way. But then I have a very close friend that comes to me and he goes, "Erin, you got it conceptually, but you need to experience it." And I was introduced to psychedelics. So my psychedelic initiation was through LSD. And I always say I stumbled into it because it's not like this psychedelic renaissance now where like you can do all this studying and there's all this information. And I knew absolutely nothing about what I was getting myself into. I get into this trip and I die. Like I have a full-blown ego death. I'm reabsorbed back into source consciousness. I can see my whole life. I could see all of my incarnations and I can see sources essentially telling me what I'm here to do, who I am. So coming out of that, all of my psychic gifts were then blown open. So there was this intense leading up to this one moment that I would say the LSD cracked open for me. But then after that, there was just a series of other types of spiritual initiations.
And so you said three things. First, it was just source consciousness. I think a lot of our audience understands when we use the word source, what we mean. But maybe somebody stumbled across this for the first time. What do you mean when you say source?
The way that I see source energy or consciousness is that it's all encompassing as opposed to an individualized consciousness or energy you can pinpoint. So for most people, this would just be God. I personally like to use the word source energy because it has less baggage and less just stories attached to what that means or fear or any inferiority. When I think about source, I think about going to the source of who you are. So it's no longer this separate thing and it's you, just a higher version of you that has the bird's eye view while you're in this temporary self. but it's the core source of you as a being, as a soul.
I love that, because I feel like many of us as human beings, when we're on our journey and we're first beginning, and when we're in like fear consciousness, fear energy, we have to have this thing, this other thing that we can name, like we have a name that we can put a gender on. God, it's got to be a man, it can't be a woman, right? And that is going to come protect us, save us, and keep us from any hurt, like our mom and dad did, or like our teachers did, right? That's essentially what we create God to be. I have this theory, this message came to me just 2 days ago, where I finally kind of like saw it. I saw like you're born and then you die, and then like lower level consciousness, higher level consciousness, right? And then I saw that it's like all of the things that happen in life, it's like if you can allow yourself to learn from them, it's like, oh, wow. And you raise the consciousness a little bit more. And then you allow yourself to like learn to them, oh, wow, you raise your consciousness a little bit more. This is the journey to enlightenment. The thing that blocks people energetically from that journey to enlightenment is all things religion, all things politics, all things focusing on what's happening in the 3D world, because you cannot possibly become the one if the one is outside of you.
Exactly. And those attachments, those stories, mainly it's fear. So I work with a lot of people doing quantum healing, and we go into their subconscious psyche, and they're like, I want to manifest more money, or I want to manifest a partner, or whatever it is. But at the core, it's usually you actually have a core distrust in God or source itself, because you've been taught to believe that it's separate. So if you think that this separate energy is going to give you something, or saying yes or no, that blocks everything else. The moment you merge into more of a co-creative relationship with source, God, universe, whatever you call it, it's now a part of your journey and less of you proving yourself to earn something.
Okay, so Erin, you're kind of blowing my mind right now, and I'm going to tell you why. Because this world is created from the energy of separation. And as a Hispanic, I'm gonna bring this up because I think we have to go there, right? As a Hispanic, I was told, and I lived under the story that I was less than, that I was a minority, right? But I think it's even deeper for African Americans. It feels like we're like in the middle energetically, and then like it's pretty deep and dark, the level of separation. And then to add to boot, you're a woman on top of that. So you're kind of blowing my mind right now, because what must have it felt like for you, an African American growing up in that consciousness, right? That, let's call it that separation, that victim, that less than energy.
Yes.
And on top of that, a woman, when you finally came to the realization, oh my God, I'm the one, right? What was that like for you?
Absolutely reality shattering in all of the best ways. It's like stumbling across a treasure chest of gold, because the world has bought into the illusion that and you have bought into it as well, that you don't have access to things that other people have access to, or that you are disadvantaged. So Source made it very clear to me, you are one with us. You are everything. You are all that is, all that has ever been. How could you ever be disconnected from anything within creation, within existence, within reality? And so it healed every false belief I ever had about myself. And that's when I could emerge and blossom as a being that could experience myself in union with everything beautiful, everything abundant, everything just possible within this game of life.
I love that. And I know that, because I've experienced that, right? And I feel like we are now attracting more than ever on this show and on social and everything that we do, more people that want that, right? I know for me, you mentioned LSD. It's interesting because for me, I never wanted to do anything that was like man-made.
Yes.
Right? But that was just my thing,
Yes.
right? I know Ram Dass.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was all
Yeah.
LSD, right? All LSD. So for me, it was like ayahuasca was my medicine. The mushrooms were my medicine, right? My question to you is this. I know that for me, my sitting with ayahuasca, I will say this again. I literally would not be the human being that I am today. You wouldn't be in this chair. We wouldn't be having this. None of this without that. What was your experience with LSD like for you?
For me, it was so different because I had not studied psychedelics or plant medicine at all. I wasn't seeking this. I was not searching this. I was not looking for it. It literally just presented itself in my reality. And I was convinced to say yes, especially as a Black person at the time. I'm thinking, dude, I'm not doing LSD with you. In my mind, it's like, this is like the equivalent of doing crack. I know nothing about this. Like,
Right.
Black people weren't doing LSD.
Right,
So it just
right.
wasn't, a part of my culture. But again, very close friend who was also just going through a deep spiritual awakening and just really convinced me to say yes. I'm like, okay, I do this thing and I'm just unraveling. If anyone has ever had an ego death, it's like I'm just, the avatar is disappearing, the character, right? This who I thought I was, it's dissolving. I'm becoming nothing. I'm returning to the I am, the source, pure consciousness, and totally lose myself and essentially die. Like I said, I was reabsorbed into all that is. And from that vantage point, I could see everything that led up to this moment because, like I told you, I had always been a seeker. So you see, I truly believe that whether it was LSD or not, there was going to be something that got me on the timeline that I needed to be on to be who I'm here to be. And I think at that time in my life, that was just God's like quickest avenue to, so all of these paths lead back home, whether it's going to be ayahuasca or LSD or no psychedelics or plant medicine.
Because there have been plenty of people in this chair.
Correct.
That right.
It really just doesn't matter. I think for me, it happened that way probably from a more timing perspective of how much deep trauma and programming as a person of color that needed to be shattered instantaneously so I could get on the path.
We get bombarded by 5G and EMF 24/7, and it's clear by now how terrible it is for our health and our energy. As a parent, it's important to me to be able to protect not only myself, but my family, my kids, and quite frankly, there's only one product that I trust to do that, and that's Aries Tech. As the only patented peer-reviewed EMF protection solution, they're at the forefront of making my world and yours a whole lot safer. For over 20 years, Aries Tech has invested in cutting-edge research to create a product that is trusted by experts, neuroscientists, doctors, and even professional athletes. And I use their technology to shield not only myself, but Jen and of course my kids from all electromagnetic radiation, which enhances not only our mental clarity, but our overall well-being. Every single device that we or my children owns has an Aries Tech on it. It's not just about protection. It's about living your life to the fullest without worrying about the invisible risks of modern technology. Whether we're working from home, we're hitting the gym, or just relaxing with family, Aries Tech gives us the peace of mind that we need. See the difference for yourself. Join me and thousands of others who've already taken their step towards a healthier life with Aries Tech. Visit ariestech.com and use the code DANNY25 to get 25% off at checkout. I say the same thing. Like people ask me or mention all the time, they're like, but do you think plant medicine is necessary? And I say, my response is like, look, there is so much trauma. There's so much negative energy. There is so much separation. And by the way, it's just getting worse and worse as the years go by that like my answer is yes. I have to answer yes because that was my journey. It's how I'm here today. I just think that the negative victim separation energy is so thick.
Yes.
I don't say this to self-promote. This is the truth. The only other thing that I have experienced where I have seen people self-actualize and literally have ego deaths right before my eyes is Awaken, which is our event. Yeah. But outside of that, I don't know. Right. I don't know. Something has to happen to to unlock, because it's so deep. It's so deep.
And I don't think that psychedelics or plant medicine is for everyone, because you do have to have, it takes a lot of mental strength to have your reality shattered. And some people will go into a spiritual psychosis, which is why I think, individuals like us, we have the bandwidth to hold that frequency and then share it with other people. But I also want to say LSD did not make me who I am. I chose to be who I am after what was revealed to me, because there's an integration. There are still challenges and lessons and initiations. And it's not just like you're going to take this thing and do this thing and everything's going to be great. No, even after that, there were, very difficult challenges in my life still arose. What I will say the LSD did was give me a point of reference, of remembrance, to say, well, this is the truth. This is where you're going back to. So it's okay that this temporary thing is showing up in the moment.
I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for saying that, because that is something that I have not remembered to ever mention in all of this time. And I think that it is so important because, I naturally am wired to choose. I'm a seeker like you. I'm naturally wired to seek the truth and the outcome. So I don't know another way other than to choose that path. But as I'm sitting here today, and as I heard you say that, gosh, I know people who've done plant medicine 30 times as much as I have. And I'm like, fool, you still don't get it, do you?
Everyone's not integrating.
That's right.
Or making the choices that they need to make. Nothing or anyone here is going to save you. Not even plant medicine or psychedelics. I've seen people try to use the medicine in that way. And it's funny. It's almost like spirit kind of blocks them out of the higher realms. Like, you're not getting access to enlightenment or nirvana or these things, and you're still doing these things in the physical. That's typically when you have a bad trip.
So let's take things a little bit further, right? This is beautiful. Here we are, beautiful African-American woman, mom to be, and you're here and you talk about abundance. It is my belief with every fiber in my being that there is not one single human being on the planet that should ever struggle with finances. I know that to be true.
Yes.
So for the people that are out there, and this is my passion is to get people to awaken to the truth that they are the creator, that they're the ones creating it all, right? So let's talk about abundance. And let's start with finances. For the people that are out there that have not only are struggling with money, but maybe all they know, all they've ever seen is their mother, their father, their parents, their neighborhood. They live in struggle. Talk to me about that. And how do you get out of that?
You have to really see beyond the illusion of what you perceive wealth to be. If you attach wealth to the physical condition of money, you will have a conditional relationship with money, meaning when money's in the bank, you will feel wealthy. When money's not in the bank, you won't. And so in that way, you'll always be in this sort of hide and seek with what I call the spirit or the energy of money. If you learn how to master an unconditional state of wealth and abundance, regardless of the physical condition, then you can always be in a frequency of being able to attract more. So what makes this really difficult for most people is that money is directly associated with our survival. So if I can't pay my rent tomorrow, Danny and Erin, hey, sounds cool, but how can I enter a state of being of abundance? And this is where self-mastery comes in, and what I worked on for years, which is cultivating an attitude and a state of being where I could tap into abundance at will, regardless of what I'm seeing, regardless of what's happening. If I wake up to $0 in the bank or a negative bank account, okay, I can choose. So I really want people to start recognizing that how they choose to feel in the moment is up to them. In every single second, you get to choose to be abundant. That abundance has nothing to do with the money that you currently see. You can say, I'm abundant with wealth in the form of my family and friends. I'm abundant in the form of wealth via my health. And the more you focused on that and you build up that energy, it creates a momentum of wealth in your reality that then becomes unstoppable. So at this stage of my life, I never feel like I lack anything. And anytime that energy tries to creep in, I know how to instantaneously focus on something that's going to shift me into a state of abundance. And then this is a whole other conversation with like quantum leaping, but you will quantum leap to the parallel version of yourself in reality that can then hold the presence of what you're asking for in your life. So in this instance, it would be money.
Can I give a real world example of what you were talking about?
Yes.
There was a point in my life, I think you all know by now, there was a point in my life where I literally was depressed. I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't afford groceries for my children. My business had blown up. Like there was nothing left. I couldn't afford to even host a birthday party for my son back then, my son Micah, right? And I remember that back then, the bill collectors, my bills were this high, like the little, like they would send you the letters back then, right? And they would stack and they would stack and they would stack. And like to my ex-wife's credit, like God bless her, like she backed me 100% during that time. And I remember that all I kept focusing on was the bills. I kept focusing on the bills and I kept focusing on and putting my energy on the fact that I couldn't pay the bills, right? And you know, one day what I did? I said, hold on, time out. If I don't have the money to feed my kids, there's no way on God's green earth I'm going to have the money to pay the bills. So if I don't have the money to do anything about it, why am I worrying about it? Yes. Why am I worrying about it? Yes. Erin, do you know what I did? I literally one by one, I ripped them up. I threw them in the trash can. I said, baby, from now on, when they call, just pick it up and hang up. Fuck them all. Like 2 weeks after that, this is for all of you. I really hope you understand this lesson I'm trying to like share. We're both sharing with you. 2 weeks after that, I was like free of it. It no longer was my master. Right? I became its master.
So good.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So then my energy was free. So then I was able to go, well, shit, I have all this energy. What do I want to do with it now? So then I go, okay, Danny, think. Come on, you know how to get yourself out of this rut. Make a little baby goal and go get that goal. And then make a little bigger goal and go get that goal. And then make a little bigger and build a little bit of momentum. So then that's when I remember I told my ex-wife back then, I said, okay, you're not going to see me for 90 days. But here's my commitment to you. This is your ability to vocalize, to speak into existence what you want to declare and have happen. My commitment to you is that at the end of 90 days, we'll be able to move out of here. We were in some crummy little space for free because we couldn't afford rent. We will release our home. And 2 years after that, I will buy us another home again. And you know what she said? It's about damn time. Go get your ass to work. Because I stopped feeling sorry for myself. Yes. I stopped being a victim.
Something that I tell my clients who are like struggling with debt is ignore it. And you know what the breakthrough was for me, because I had a similar situation graduating college, you know, you're like trying to figure it out and whatever. And I'm back at home, no money. My car got repossessed and I had all these bills, similar situation. You know how they do, they blow your phone up. And I have this moment of realization. Money isn't real. It actually doesn't exist. And then I committed to no longer believing that it was real. And I started telling myself that I actually wasn't in debt. And so, of course, my family thought I was fucking absolutely crazy. And they're like, but it freed me of being a slave to that reality, like you were saying. And oh my gosh, by the grace of God, an amazing book dropped into my reality around the same time. And it's called The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. And it gives you 28 days of gratitude practices. I immediately opened this book And I start writing down all the things I was grateful for. Like, these people just came and picked my car up. I'm like traumatized. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? We got to get back in alignment. And I'm literally writing, I'm so thankful and grateful that I have 2 legs. I'm so thankful and grateful that truly, technically, there's public transportation. You know, just finding anything to hold on to. And it shifted me into a state of abundance. So it is a choice, even when it seems like it's not.
And let me flip it, because guys, and I share these stories. We share these stories because hopefully you can see, like, snap out of it. You can transcend what's going on.
Snap out of it.
I got my car repossessed from my then pregnant ex-wife while she was at Target, 8 months pregnant. We couldn't afford to deliver our baby. We had to go on the welfare thing. And 2 years later, I was living in a $2 million house. Like, this is how bad. So then here's the lesson for you. What if the bills, what if the car being repossessed, what if all of it is literally source trying to wake you up? Hey, stop being a victim.
Yes.
Hey, snap out of it. Hey, you have a choice. Hey, it's not about that.
It's not real.
It's not real. Hey. And the whole time you've been like, oh yeah, Danny, but what about my bills? Whatever. And we're here to, hey, snap out of it. Hey, and if you could just get into a place of love.
Yes.
And if you could just get into a place of abundance, regardless of what's going on, that's all the angels are looking down going, oh, now she's ready. Now he's ready.
And you are so right about these experiences just being the catalyst to your breakthrough, because after that, there was nothing else that could make me shameful or that I was overly attached to, because what's happening is we're like resisting these things from happening. Like, well, what if I lose the house or the thing?
That's
or the
right.
But once you do lose it and you're left with the only real thing, which was yourself.
You.
And you're like, wait, that was never real, but I'm real because I'm still here. You will never be attached in the same way to any of these things. And I needed those experiences. I needed them. I'm so thankful for them.
Do you know what's wild? I don't even see bills. I don't have bills. I don't. And I probably have $100,000 a month in bills. Probably more, I don't know. But I don't ever physically see them or touch them or do anything with that.
It's just happening.
It's delegated, but you got to get to a certain frequency.
Yes.
Do you guys understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
You got to get to a frequency where it no longer bothers you. You no longer have to know. I don't know. I just know I'm handled and I'm good.
I know people are listening to this and this seems so out of touch with reality. It takes time to get to this frequency where you have this relationship with money, where things are just working and things are being paid and money's coming in and it's going out and it's just flowing. And you're like, I don't know, everything's taken care of. I seem to always be in surplus. But that vibration of a surplus, financial surplus, is you have to feel that in yourself. Because even if we think about the vibration of this word debt, if you see yourself as being indebted, you're going to always be vibrationally behind. And then what happens is people attract all these random expenses. Like, they'll get some money, but then something will come up and they don't have it anymore. And it's just this repetitive loop. I like to call it a loop of lack. And it's inescapable. The only way you're going to break up that routine of being in lack is to see yourself differently. Even if you are in debt, today you can decide, I'm no longer identifying as that version of me. And I guarantee you things will shift. They will begin to shift.
Here, I'm willing to say this statement. There is no way on God's green earth that if you truly want it, you will never have debt or poverty ever again in your life if you listen to what we just said.
And I co-validate that.
It's impossible.
You say these things to people like your family and your friends, and they just think you got lucky. I'm pretty sure you've gotten
everybody.
That. You got lucky, or you're just smarter than everybody. And I heard this thing, I'm not going to co-validate your lack. Because when we co-validate these stories that people are in, what we're doing is we're now giving our energy to support the reality where they are experiencing suffering. And I've decided that I'm not going to do that, which is why I show up so unapologetically in these types of conversations. I don't co-validate lack.
I don't either.
I don't agree.
I remember when COVID happened, I was like, I choose to not participate.
Same.
I remember go to my Instagram. I remember I was running in California when they were like, you cannot go outside. And I was like, guys, this is where it all begins. I choose to not participate in any of this.
I go, not my reality. And I was living in New York City at the time where it was like the worst of the worst. And I had some beings come to me. That's a whole different story. And maybe we can go into that and prepared me. They go, Erin, remember, it's all an illusion. Hold your frequency. And I go, okay. When I say 2021 or 22, one of the best years of my life. One of the best years of my life. I mean, beautiful time spent with family, the partner that I was with at the time, quantum leaped in money, like 3x'd my money. How is that possible when the world is in chaos? It's a choice.
Relationships.
Had a lot of them.
It's the same. It's the same energy. It's the money, relationships. It's where can you see who you decided to be having an impact on your relationship life?
When I experienced the unconditional love of Source that healed every false thought, limiting belief I ever had about myself, that we're just, we're all conditioned with this stuff in the matrix. It elevated the reflections in my life that showed up because I was no longer needing to be validated or even seeking it. It's more so, I know who I am. I know what I have to offer. You can choose to co-create with me or not. And so, although I had, relationships that didn't end up being long-term, I would say after having a deep spiritual awakening, the quality of my relationships was still quite beautiful.
Something just came to me that I have never said publicly that I want to tell you. We're in Costa Rica. And I was always that guy that, like, when we were in high school, like the disabled kids, when like the mean kids would like make fun of them, I was always that guy that would stand up for them. Like I would always I remember one time I almost got into a fight. Like they were walking by, some gangster was like being a jerk to them, and I stood up for them, and because I hate injustice. Yeah, because injustice, it just feels, it's like a lie. It's the opposite of like truth. It's the opposite of love, quite frankly. We're in Costa Rica. I had just finished doing ayahuasca. I had just, like, my heart chakra had just opened, like literally physically just opened. And we're having dinner with all these friends of mine, and we're driving in the middle of the dark back to the hotel. We had just finished dinner, and my mind is, I'm still in the medicine.
Yeah.
So I'm still
getting downloads
and you know what I saw? I've never said this, but I'm going to say this. I saw like the beauty and the power and the physicality of Black people. And you know what I saw? I saw that at some point in time, it was clear to me, at some point in time back then, Black people were actually the superior,
yes,
like race,
yes,
the superior beings.
Yes.
And in that moment, when I saw it, I thought I was going to die. I was having an ego death or some sort of, maybe you can tell me, some sort of like disconnection or something from a lie is what it was. Because then I thought, oh shit. What actually happened is they saw how powerful they were, and they thought, we need to do something about this. And then that's when the energy shifted. And then that's where it's like Black people feel less than. But what I have learned in life is that anything that you feel, the opposite is actually the truth. Do you know what I'm saying? And so my dream had always been like, get me like 30 of the most powerful Black leaders in a room, We're doing a mushroom journey. I want you to do it with me.
I'm down.
I want to wake people.
It is my joy to watch the face of someone who has their reality shattered.
Oh my God. When they go like this and they go to me and they're crying, they go, I get it now. That's the moment I live for. That's when I'm like, Mr. Miyagi.
And you know, it's so interesting because I kind of going back to my LSD journey, I remember, and I've had other, you know, plant medicine experiences too. I'm just referencing this one because it was the most powerful. There was a key ego death moment where I think I even said out loud, I go, holy shit, and I'm a Black woman. There was something about remembering that I was God, source, but then realizing that this identity, this character, this stamp, this avatar was so just deeply programmed into the psyche that I couldn't be anything great. So when I say it was like stumbling across the best treasure ever found, it's because it's like if someone took candy from a baby, but then, you know, and you're like, it's me.
I'm the candy. I'm the everything.
And I'm not to say that no one else is. I'm just giving my experience as a Black woman because the programming is so deep, why it was so profound for me. And I'm sure you, as a Hispanic, have had the same experience.
I understand. And that's why I share there is no Black, there is no white, there is no Hispanic, there's no American, there's no Chinese, there's no, it's just.
Yes.
So galactic beings. So look, I have my psychic. I'm down with it. But I have never heard of galactic beings. I've seen the aliens before, right? But I know it's they. I know, whenever I'm like, it's them. So maybe that's who I'm talking about, and they speak to me, right? How do you access that? What does that feel like? What does that look like? What is that?
So 2020 during COVID, that's when this particular energy started coming into my field. Up until that point, I was very accustomed to channeling source energy, similar to like Abraham Hicks, if you're familiar, just more broader source consciousness. But at this point, it was almost like I was hearing a radio station in my ear, and I could not stop thinking about aliens and galactic beings. So one way or another, I end up going to a galactic channeler, and she confirms, you're actually from this planet. She tells me the place and the planet, the types of beings who are working with me. And then she does this light language activation on me, which I'm also a channeler of light language at this point. And it's like, it just cut on. I just remembered, because I always had a sense of not being from Earth, but it's like, it was just like a distant thought. Like, it's always there, but can you really entertain that when you're in the midst of getting a degree and work? You know what I mean? So, but this presence came in, she confirmed it. There's all these crazy body activations on me. And then it's like I was attuned to their frequency and I could hear them. And then that was the beginning of my galactic channeling journey.
I get it. Because I've had very powerful moments. And it is very clear to me, especially like during Awaken, what I am. I spent so long my life not knowing my purpose and why I'm here. It is very clear why I'm here. It's very clear. But you said something when the cameras kind of broke, which is maybe why they broke. You said you have a lot of galactic stuff going on.
Yes.
What did you mean by that?
Let me because there are some things they want me to share with you off camera.
Which we'll do, because I felt called to ask you. Yeah.
I'll give the specific details of more so of like who you are. I'll just give the general theme of the work. You have many what we call soul aspects. So you've been around for a long time. And when I say a long time, I mean like millions of years of incarnating in different star systems and different planets. And you're more so of a commander-ish ranking, and you assist with different envoys on many different planets, not just Earth, with their ascension process and their awakening. So you are someone, specifically in this incarnation, they're showing me you're here to teach mastering the masculine and the feminine so that people can reach their highest form of self, to be in true co-creatorship with source and quantum reality, really. So that is what you are doing. But you are a true starseed and have a galactic energy soul signature.
I get that.
Does that resonate to you? Does that feel true?
It does. And it's so interesting that you brought up the masculine and feminine, because what I will say is that like, that's what like actually got me here. That's what all of our following, I know he's smiling right now. All of our following, all of that came when I started speaking about masculine and feminine energy. Sure. And that came when you don't read a book, you just start living it, right? But then I feel like part of my gifting is I can go, like I can touch you right where you need to be touched. But if I'm not careful with the energy, it could be like if I'm like, it's the wrong, right? And so we were getting so much like anger on socials. Seriously.
It's triggering.
Oh my God, it is. So then I was like, Casper, like, I don't want to make people mad. I want to help them. Right. So I get to take ownership of how the message was coming through, but also I get to realize like, it's just the truth. It's just the truth of who we are. So the delivery could be changed a little bit.
And that's why you have sort of been chosen and agreed to be in this particular role, because you quickly recognized, okay, how can we balance this with more feminine energy? Because the masculine or the father energy is going to whip you into shape, right? It's the structure, it's the discipline, it's the you need to hear the truth. But then the feminine piece is, okay, how do we nurture you? How do we help you, tend to the wounds? And so even for myself as a channeler and a spiritual teacher, I can also come across very to the point. And I had to learn how to equally use both energies within myself. So I might say something really hardcore, but then I know how to come in with the, with the love.
Okay. Casper, we can go back. Let's make some clips.
But you have that as a soul mastery. Like I'm seeing it built into your soul blueprint.
And it feels like I had to go through everything that I had to go through to.
Absolutely.
Final thoughts for everybody.
Life can either be a prison or a playground. You choose. Reality is infinite. The reality you're experiencing right now is just a reflection of your beliefs, your identity, and your vibration. The moment you agree to shift, reality co-validates that shift and allows you to experience something new. So the playground is available, but the prison is going to be available too. And it's up to you.
How do people learn more about you?
You can find me on Instagram at Erin Lyons Official or www.erinlyonsofficial.com or on YouTube, Erin Lyons TV.
I'm going to set the intention that this episode is about to blow up.
We're affirming it. We're co-validating it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. This was amazing.
And thank you guys as always. Thanks for all of your comments. Thanks for all of your support. Thanks for always listening. And we'll see you next week on another episode of The Higher Self.